So we saw a fire NATO across the South Denver metropolitan area with a fast-moving, fast-developing brush fire that developed on Sunday afternoon, July the 13th. And the area we're talking about here, this is about 35 miles due south of downtown Denver. And again, this took place on Sunday, July the 13th. So what is a fire NATO and what kind of leads to this? And also, what does it mean? So let's kind of get into the specifics. First of all, hot air rises, right? That's the basic principle you need to know here. Hot air, it goes up. So when you've got a whole lot of rising air, and when you're talking about a wildfire, usually you've got some sort of major heat source that can vary in terms of what it looks like. But that heat source in this case, it really was just really hot air temperatures. We were at about 90, 91 degrees as this wildfire first started up. And you had a very dry air mass in place as well. So that very hot, dry air mass, so that air constantly wants to rise when you've got temperatures like that. And so that's the basic principle of what we saw back on Sunday. However, what gives us that kind of twisty motion to it? Couple things, and this is the kind of scary part. Part of the reasons we don't like to see fire nados, aside from the fact that obviously they mean that there's a wildfire going on, but fire nados usually means that the fire itself is creating its own weather. So specifically with this wildfire that we're talking about here, we did not actually have very strong winds. In fact, that's what allowed this fire to get basically contained very quickly. It was contained mostly by Sunday night, by about 7:30, 8 o'clock. It was about 90% contained, which is great news. But there was basically no wind, so 5-10 mile an hour winds. However, fires, when they're strong enough, they create their own weather. They can create their own winds. They can create their own areas of even mini low or high pressures within that. And so that is what we're seeing with the fire NATO here, is that you can see these little kind of natural swirls. And that's where it starts getting a little scary. It's going, uh-oh, this is really unpredictable in terms of what's going to happen. And with these fast developing, fast burning brush grass fires, that's what we can often see with that. So that's the kind of ominous part of things. However, the good news with this specific fire is it was put out pretty quickly on Sunday evening, and by the time I'm recording this, 7:30 on Monday morning, all evacuations lifted, and it appears most of that fire has been put out. So some good news, but a little bit about fire nados and what we saw back on Sunday.